So I met this girl, she was beautiful. I was surprised at how well the conversation went. Constant eye contact, and we spoke on the same subjects. The first giveaway was that she mentioned breaking up with her girlfriend. And I thought, girlfriend? Well, girls these days refer to their friends as girlfriends, right? So, keeping that little bit of hope, I continued the conversation. And she was awesome. When the bar started closing, my suspicions were confirmed. I asked for her number and she told me, I'm gay. I'm like, oh, okay then. I then just said, it's cool. What's your Instagram? We exchanged and it was cool. We had a good conversation and no regrets. Well, at least one. Just the fact I could not be with someone as awesome as her. But at the very least, she can be a good wingwoman. Sigh. Edit. I didn't expect this thread to really blow up. Story 1. When I was getting on the plane to go to basic training for the army, I met a girl on that flight who joined as well. Over the course of our travel, she and I stuck together and talked the whole time. Admittedly, I was crushing very hard but was keeping myself together because I knew we were going to be separated when we got to wherever we were going. In the last leg of our trip, after our second plane touched down and on the bus, she confided in me about her sexuality. This was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed, and she was nervous about someone finding out and getting her kicked out. Because of the situation surrounding this whole thing, I quickly forgot that crush because I was so concerned with the army policy and her joining. I reassured her that things would go well, and I actually bumped into her after basic training was over, and we caught up on how the last 9 weeks were for us. Story 2. I have a few girls who are friends and they are lesbians. They are the greatest. When I was raising my son as a single father, they stepped up when he needed a mom for some event and were very protective of him. I can call them when I need a date to some function I have to attend for work, and they look amazing. They are the best drinking buddies to have. I know I'll stay out of trouble because they have my back and I have theirs. I love my close lesbian friends. They are my best, truthful friends. Story 3. On the contrary, I connected well with a girl who, through a lot of gathered context, I presumed was lesbian. She never confirmed this herself, however, and after a month of feelings swelling inside me, I decided to take a chance and ask her on a date. She was really excited and said yes, and we've been dating ever since. She's not lesbian but is bisexual, and apparently, I'm the first male she's liked enough to want to date. She told me she loves me the other night. I love her too. Feels good, man. Story 4. A lesbian friend of mine decided she wanted to try something new, so I got to be her experimental phase. After a few dates and some kissing and petting, she got back together with her ex-girlfriend. I'm glad I got the chance to show this young lesbian how little she was missing. Story 5. This happened to me recently. I met this girl, and she was really attractive in a unique way that I was really drawn to. We also shared lots of common interests, and she just seemed like a really interesting person. When I asked her out, she didn't actually tell me she was gay, which I can understand. But we went out for coffee as friends, and I found out later. It was a bit of a bummer, but she was really nice about it. Story 6. The plus side is that this won't be an awkward friendship. Please don't think that this has implied any meaning. I have heard of men who have been long-term friends with women and then have asked them out, only to be rejected and have this pretty much end the friendship. This happened to me. Story 7. I know exactly how you feel. A while ago, I was working on a movie acting. A day before filming, I was supposed to meet the actress who was playing my wife and the director to go through some scenes. I was really nervous because I had no idea what she looked like. When she walked in, it felt like the world stopped. She was so beautiful. The director introduced us and then left us to get to know each other. We started talking and we hit it off pretty well. At least that's what I thought. The director came back to walk us through the script and do some rehearsals. We went through the schedule for the first day and then, out of the blue, he said, "Okay, now I need you to kiss." I had no idea what to do and she came to me, leaned in, and kissed me. The director said, "See, I need that to be believable tomorrow." And then he just left and left us to practice. I don't even know how many times we kissed. And I have to admit that was my favorite part of the whole project. The next few days went well and we spent all of our time together. I was building up the courage to ask her out when I accidentally found out she was a lesbian. That's not even the best part. After that, I found out that not only did she have a girlfriend, but her girlfriend was also working on the film. Story 8. Not exactly. We dated for a few months. Nothing changed much from our prior friendship aside from spending time closer together. After we had our mutual breakup, she came out of the closet. We're still close, and now we give each other dating tips. Story 9. Then you make a friend. If you guys clicked, then you clicked. Be homies. Sounds like the two of you had more in common, just like girls. Having at least one close female friend could probably even be beneficial if you consider yourself shy. There doesn't have to be a romantic component to these things. Two of my closest friends are gorgeous women, and they have taught me so much and added so much joy to my life. Story 10. There are 3 really important things to remember. Human connection is almost, but not quite, more important than sex. You had a great connection. Keep that. Sexual relationships will come and go. Deep connections are more valuable over the long term. There is a really important concept called social proof. If an attractive woman introduces you to another woman, it raises your value. Just remember that you have to not mess up with the introduced woman because, like when a friend tells you about a job, they lose face if you turn out to be a jerk. Lastly, for reasons that I have never understood, attractive women have attractive friends. And she will know which ones are interested in which gender. Story 11. I haven't. But having a connection with a boy just to find out he's gay? Yes. By the way, as a girl, we don't refer to our friends as girlfriends. You mean girlfriends? With a space between the 2 words? Story 12. Not lesbian but 100% asexual. I asked her on a date. She said, I'm asexual but would still like to hang out. But I don't want to date because I don't think it would be fair to you. My response was something like, oh, didn't realize we're still on for next week. Right? She was apprenticing as a tattoo artist and was doing one for me. We became very good friends until our mutual friend, who introduced us, played this weird push-pull game with us and made everything a disaster. Story 13. I had a crush on a student at a music lesson studio I worked with for years. After a few months, I had the courage to ask her out to one of our employee get-togethers. I picked her up, we went out and had dinner and drinks, and had a great time. When I dropped her off, I said I would really like to see her again, and I guess the entire time she never realized it was a date in my eyes. So she let me know she was a lesbian. I laughed at myself, and we joked about it and honestly became great friends afterwards. We would even have sleepovers, and it was never weird at all. She moved across the country since then, and I haven't seen her for years, but I still talk to her and miss that friendship. Story 14. I dated someone for a whole summer who turned out to be a lesbian. And this wasn't even in my 20s. This was in my early 30s. She was very closed off with communication but seemed to like me, so I thought we were taking things very slowly. It ended up really affecting me because, although she was willing to spend time together, nothing went further than some light kissing. I found out later that not only was she a virgin, but she quickly started dating a woman after she left our area. Overall, it was not a fun experience as I really liked her. But when you're attracted to outdoorsy women with short hair and no makeup, well, I guess that's just what you're in for. Good luck in your future endeavors. Story 15. I spent a few days getting on really well with a girl in the first week of university. It wasn't romantic, but it felt like it could turn that way. Then she said she had an argument over the phone with her girlfriend back home. I felt quite hurt at the time but didn't take it out on her. I tried to think back on how the previous few days had gone and whether she had actually led me on or if I was interpreting signals incorrectly. I didn't come to any conclusion and just moved on. When I said moved on, I meant moving on from the mindset, not moving on from her. We remained friends throughout university. Story 16. I had a new job. The girl that sat closest to me I talked to quite a bit. She occasionally would mention her relationship with someone who had a name that could be male or female. I never thought too much about that part and just assumed it was a guy. There was absolutely zero sexual tension or flirting, but she was a cool chick. One day she showed me a picture of her significant other, and I saw it was a girl. I then realized a number of stories suddenly made more sense. I hadn't ever thought about it, and it was not something we had discussed up to that point. She was fully into other women. Anyhow, she turned out to be a phenomenal wing woman. She would chat up other girls for me at happy hour and tell them lies like lots of girls had crushes on me. I'm a great lover, hung like a can of tennis balls, and so on. It was awesome. Story 17. Every girl I have ever had a huge crush on or dated, back when I was bisexual, have all turned out to be lesbian. There have been 8 of them so far, so when I connect well with a girl, I just assume she is a lesbian. Story 18. Met her at an art show, and we hung out on and off for weeks afterward. We got along great, with similar interests, and both of us are practicing artists and musicians. One night, we went to dinner, and I asked if she's in a relationship. She tells me, "No, but I'm a lesbian, I thought you knew." I apologize, we awkwardly laugh it off, and the night goes on. She was one of the first real friends I made after moving to the city. We've been friends for more than 4 years. Story 19. Met this girl a while back. We connected super well and even casually dated for a couple of months, but then broke up because she thought she might be bisexual and wanted to experiment with that. We connected so well that we remained friends, and now, about 1.5 years later, she is my best friend, and we share a house. She has a long-term girlfriend, and they're pretty much doing well together. I was a bit hurt at the beginning because I really connected with her, and that never happens, but I'm really happy with how things turned out. Honestly, life would have been much harder this past year if I didn't have a best friend like her. My point is, having a girl best friend is amazing, and I think as guys we grow up being taught that if we get close to a girl, we need to date her, otherwise we are somehow failing at being a man, which isn't true. Friendships are just as valuable, if not more. Story 20. My first girlfriend cheated on me with a girl. Turns out she was bisexual. Years later, I was interested in another girl, and it turned out she was on and off with another girl. So far, not so good. Story 21. Here's a piece of advice every man should know. You can be friends with women without wanting to sleep with them. If you have that good of a connection with a person, you should make them your friend and maintain the connection as a friendship. Story 22. This happens very often for me. Apparently, I am not very good at detecting who is and isn't a lesbian. Part of it is that I am a member of the rugby community, where there tend to be more lesbians around than in usual communities. Story 23. What you have experienced is the possibility of having a woman as a friend. And that's a big deal because you can then learn to see women not as partners but as friends, which is what we as men should be doing all the time. Story 24. I'm a girl. There was this cute dude that my friend introduced to me but told me he was gay. After 3 months of chatting on Snapchat and play flirting, I asked if he was actually gay. He wasn't, and I was low-key upset with my friend for not realizing it earlier. Story 25. I went out with a friend in college once. It was kind of awkward, but we stayed friends, and I went to her sorority formal. She came out a year or 2 later, and it made a lot of sense. Story 26. My best friend decided she was a lesbian after a failed marriage to an unworthy person that left her with 2 wonderful kids. She was charmed by a very attractive counter clerk. She would tell me some things they got up to, but then say, and it's not a spectator sport. However, she did say I was an honorary lesbian, so there's that. Story 27. I am a lesbian, and reading the comments that say we make great friends is really heartwarming. I have connected with a few guys in a really strong platonic way, and we regard each other as family. Our friendship is that close. If you connect with someone and they turn out not to be into you for whatever reason, then you have still made a good friend. Relationships come and go, but good friends can last a lifetime. Story 28. As a bisexual woman, we need more male-female friendships. I get it that men think having a female friend can be awkward. It's only awkward if you make it like that, dude. One of my best friends is a guy. I only have a problem with a guy if he starts making inappropriate comments about me or the guy I'm dating, which has happened before, and I'm no longer friends with them. Story 29. I was like, oh damn, I should have realized earlier. Since she was with her long-term girlfriend. Both are really cool, Full-on nerds doing cosplay, shootings, tabletop nights, and so on. Story 30. I have never connected with a girl in a romantic context who I found out was a lesbian because I try to figure these things out quickly. I don't like wasting time. Story 31. I used to have a roommate who was kind of cute. She would have girlfriends over who were clearly gay, but I never made the connection. Only when we went dancing one night just before I moved out, and she told me her ex was DJing, and it turned out to be a woman, did I get it. Story 32. One of my close friends in college. We had the same major, a lot of the same hobbies. She was funny, smart, gorgeous, and she was just a sweet person in general. Finding out she was gay honestly hurt pretty bad. But that's the way she goes. Story 33. Yes, I was in 7th grade and had a major crush on her. She asked me out on Christmas, then told me she actually liked girls too. I was like, yeah, I like girls as well. Not seeing her point. I realized what she meant and panicked, knowing my friends would make fun of me endlessly. It would have been different if it wasn't 7th grade. Story 34. All my friends who are girls are gay with 2 exceptions. One is in a relationship and the other is an old friend. It happens. You just think, well, glad you're comfortable with your sexuality. Then you decide if you want a friendship with this person or not. Story 35. Well, a bit because I was connecting with her. I am an exchange student in France, and there was this other exchange girl at my school here. She was pretty hot and we were talking about parties and drugs. She said, yeah, the first time I tried ecstasy was because of a girl I was kidding with. Well, I was a bit surprised.